Welcome, guys. If you see me smiling this big, then there's a very special reason behind this. And that's because we've got one of the most talented, elusive, incredibly well-known real estate agents in the Dubai market who's got a lot of requests from a lot of people to do podcasts. So I'm superbly humbled that he accepted to do one with me. He is very well known in the luxury real estate market to the extent his brand name is Mr. Palm Jumeirah, okay? And he's been in the market more than a decade. He didn't start off in Dubai. He started off from the UK, but he's been in the Dubai market for over a decade now. And he specializes in luxury real estate. After many, many years and a lot of deliberation, he's actually gone on to now start his own business, his own company, which we're going to learn more about. But this is going to be a lot of stories, insights, especially for people who want to enter as an investor or work in the luxury side of Dubai real estate. Let me do a quick welcome, and then we'll go down to our first question. Welcome, Mr. Palm Jumeirah.
Thank you. What an introduction that was. Wow.
See, when you're doing introductions, you've got to be very balanced. Some people some people you might not actually big them up enough. Some people you might not big them low enough. So I always try to
Trying to find that balance in the middle.
Try to find that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with you.
Yeah.
Starting out, give us a little bit about your journey, getting into real estate. I know you didn't start in Dubai. You started out in the UK. You were living in Spain for a while. But how did you get into the Dubai real estate and also the luxury side of Dubai real estate?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to give you a quick brief, with the whole Spain and where the passion for real estate actually started. So, I was at university between 2000 and 2004 in Liverpool University. I was in a Spanish degree. I lived in Spain for about 18 months. And I was based in Malaga. And I used to visit Marbella a lot, Puerto Banús. And, it's kind of a touristy place. And I don't know if you've been to Marbella or been to south of Spain, but the properties there are absolutely beautiful. They're on mountaintops. You've got beachfront properties there as well. Very kind of LA-esque in terms of the types of properties they have there. And that's what sparked the interest. I thought this seems quite interesting. And when I left university, I was kind of confused. Okay, I've got an international business. I've got a Spanish degree. I don't really know what I'm interested in as such. I like a lot of people when they leave university, right? So I thought, okay, real estate could be interesting. So I was working for a company called Countrywide in the UK. Countrywide is very, very large. It's the largest real estate company or estate agency in Europe. So I worked with them for about 3 years. And interestingly there, I was working at what you would class as very, very lower ticket properties. I was doing investment properties. So most of my clients were investors buying terrace houses.
Okay.
Talking 500,000 to $1 million dirhams.
Okay.
So very, very low ticket. And these guys would buy, convert them, make multiple bedrooms and rent them out.
Right.
So, and that was in Manchester.
There's a special word for that, right? HMS or something?
HMOs.
HMOs.
Yeah. That came after that. But yeah, HMOs is what they call them in the UK. So that was in Manchester when I was living. So when I left university, left Spain, moved to Manchester, started working in real estate. 3 years I worked for Countrywide. Then I set up my own investment company there.
Right.
And I kind of shifted away from the traditional model of 2 up, 2 down traditional houses to new builds. In 2008, this was. So 2008, 2009, I was doing new builds in Manchester. And then the whole market collapsed. Obviously, globally, it collapsed. Manchester was hit very, very badly. A lot of the off-plan properties kind of lost 50, 60, 70, 80% of their values. And I got to the stage where I thought, you know what? The UK market isn't really where I want it to be. Let's now try and explore either to move to Spain or somewhere else. And I'd been to Dubai in 2006, I had a wedding in India. I visited for a week and I thought this is pretty interesting. But I didn't really have the affiliation of moving to Dubai at that stage. So in 2009, when I was looking, I had a friend who I worked with in Manchester at my agency who'd moved to Dubai in 2008.
Okay.
And he's still in Dubai, a guy called Johnny Oliver.
Okay.
Runs Mina Mortgages, a good friend of mine from Manchester. So he convinced me, why don't you try Dubai out? You're already self-employed in the UK. The Dubai model is very American in the sense, you're self-employed, you just partner with an agency and you go from there. And the Spanish market at the time wasn't really doing very well. So I thought, okay, let's go to Dubai. The idea was to come for 2 or 3 years, just check things out and build a base, get experience, and move back to the UK or move to Spain. It was never a long-term vision, to be very honest with you. When I moved here, I worked for a company called Smith & Ken in 2009. They were very, very big at that stage. They would probably what the Allsops are.
The young boys.
But yeah, 12, 13 years ago. I mean, they actually started at the same time as Allsop and Allsops. Very good learning curve. It was a very boiler room kind of agency, a lot of cold calling, a lot of targets and KPIs. It was very, very, I mean, you had to make 100 calls a day and it was pretty full on.
Right.
But yeah, it was interesting. And for me, it was very different to how the UK model worked. But before I came out here, I made it very clear to the company, listen, I'm going to move to Dubai. I did my research. I want to work on the Palm.
Okay.
And in those days, there was very limited communities anywhere.
Right.
I didn't want to do downtown or Emirates Living and these kind of areas. Anyway, I moved here and they're like, listen, we'll put you on the Palm on the condition you got to do Emirates Living for the first 3 months, 3 to 6 months. Prove you can do villas there, and then we'll put you on Palm Villas. I said, okay, fine. So in the first few months, I mean, the market clearly, when I came here in September 2009, wasn't great.
No.
A lot of people running away. It was tough, but at the same time, it's opportunities everywhere. So a lot of investors wanting to buy. So I did a couple of deals in Meadows and Lakes and Springs, and then it was like, okay, fine, you proved yourself. Let's put you onto the Palm.
Nobody was coming into real estate in 2009
at all.
Like.
Even when I got here, I regretted it once I got here. I thought, oh my God, this really is, it's like a ghost town. It really was. It was quite scary how many people had, ran off and left cars and all sorts, right? Yeah. But yeah, but for me, that's where the opportunity was, right? And for me, getting out the comfort zone, it was, UK was kind of getting a little bit bored. The market isn't really proactive compared to how Dubai market is, right? So I found very proactive here. Obviously, agents all commission only, so people are really here to get deals done, make money, and at that stage of my life, at that age, that's what I was interested in, right? I really wanted to do very, very well in a short period of time. So when I moved to the Palm, it was a great move. Initially, I only sold villas for the first 4 or 5 years until 2014. Only Palm villas.
So you wouldn't touch apartments?
No, wouldn't touch them at all. But then the market matured, more communities came out, more and more things happened. And then it came quite clear to me that just being a Palm Villa specialist, which worked for so many years, wasn't going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So it was time to pivot, and like with anything, right? So we pivoted, and I started learning the apartment developments, and then gradually I kind of just ended up doing everything on the Palm.
Right.
Selective with the apartment developments, I would say, less the low to mid, more the mid to higher tier stuff. And then so that's where the luxury kind of element of real estate started for me in 2009-10 when I first got here. Of course, my background wasn't that, so it took me a long time to get to where I am now. But it's something that was synonymous to me. It's something I enjoyed. I like, dealing with the affluent, dealing in a slightly more different way to selling clients, investments for 1 million or 2 million, right? It was a very, very different approach.
Very, very different. That's interesting. Thank you for that. And I think a lot of people who are going to be listening, they're going to want to know that background. So that kind of like really sets it apart. And it shows your journey into luxury real estate. Yasin, how is luxury real estate different? And how did you find it compared to other real estate, even today? Because a lot of my listeners, they're going to want, they want it. And you've seen this, right? A lot of agents come to Dubai. You came in, you said, I want to work on the Palm.
Yes.
So a lot of them want to work on the Palm as well. What sets luxury apart?
See, the thing is, luxury, the definition of luxury is different for different people, right? So what my definition of what I think luxury is could be very different to what your definition of luxury is as well. And in Dubai, the word luxury is massively overused. Every developer is selling luxury. Every Instagram agent is selling luxury. So it's all kind of muddied the waters, in my opinion. But for me, luxury has always been a property that is in a prime area, prime development, and a prime unit. So it's got to tick the prime markets, right? So in Dubai,
there's prime area, prime development,
and prime property.
Prime property, okay.
Yeah. Because you could be in a prime area, but not necessarily be in a prime development as well, right?
Right.
And again, everyone's definition will be different.
Right.
But that's the client or target market of the affluent that I wanted to target. So for me, that was what, for me, luxury was. So if I'm going to be selling Palm Villas, as an example, so Palm, Jumeirah is a luxury community, right?
Right.
Palm Villas are luxury as well. But within those villas, Some are going to be more luxurious, depending on where the properties are located, right?
Right.
So again, it was not just selling any palm villa. It's trying to pick and choose properties which I think that type of clientele are going to feel an affiliation to. And I think before there wasn't that much, luxury properties, I would say, was quite limited in Dubai. And even if you look at the palm villas now, what they built 15 years ago, it wasn't the luxury, to be very honest with you, right? I'd say that
average quality.
Very, very average quality. Location was great, but the quality was very, very average, right? But in the last 3 to 4 years, I'd say last 4 to 5 years, a lot of developers jumped into the luxury scene.
Right.
But sales were not really happening. And I can give you an example, because I worked at Knight Frank, and we were the exclusive agency for the Royal Atlantis project at the time.
Yes.
That was one of the reasons I actually joined the company as well. Just to give you very kind of quick figures, for 4.5 years, the project sold 10%.
Correct, yes.
In terms of volume.
Yes.
People would not pay 3,000 dirhams a square foot. They didn't see the value in it, and they didn't believe in it.
Wasn't it 5,000, and then did they bring it down then?
No, the initial launch was 3,000 a square foot. The 3 to 3.5. So for the lower floor units, and then it went up depending on the location, right? But people just wouldn't pay, right?
Okay.
COVID happened. I think if any city had the most benefit of COVID, it was probably Dubai, in my opinion, right? And luxury real estate really took off because COVID happened. 6 months of panic everywhere globally. Dubai was no different. A lot of panic here as well. But the government, did a very good job. They handled it very well. They opened up their doors pretty quickly as well. And then October 2020, it just went. Yeah. It just went like that.
So you know what's funny? The previous absolute bottom was April 2009.
Yes.
And you came in August 2009, right?
Yeah.
The market reached in 2020 November the same. This is a property monitor report. Like Zan did this report.
Yeah,
I saw the
saw
report
it as well.
And
it
hit that bottom, and then it went up. But one of the things I talk about, 2008, when the global financial crisis happened, everybody was looking to see what His Highness Sheikh Mohammed's going to say about it. So I think there were I didn't listen to what he had said, but there was this one speech that I heard of his, and he was talking to all his government officials, because people were panicking, right? Globally and Dubai as well. He very calmly, I remember the words that he said or the words that were translated and came to me was like, he said, "You guys are leaders. Leaders, these times of challenges are when leaders stand up. So just go be a leader, like sort things out."
Yeah.
And I think that's what Dubai did. So they were prepared. They took the pandemic as a challenge.
Yeah.
And subhanAllah, the way we recovered here, opened up, people could come in.
100%.
We didn't close down like Australia or New Zealand. In fact, after the pandemic, I had New Zealand clients, Australian clients, like, we just need an extra home, because you could fly out if you had residence in Dubai. And Dubai would let you fly in.
Yeah.
So they're like, we just need to do that just so we can get out.
Yeah. And that's what we saw, right? So a lot of Europeans, traditionally, though, I'd say, a lot of transactions have always been a lot of Indians, Chinese were buying a lot at the time, obviously,
Brits.
Middle Eastern, Brits. But then November 2020, when the market started picking up, and the story about the Royal Atlantis as well, we sold 10% in 4.5 years, and then 90% sold in the 12 months thereafter, right? Just to give you an idea of how crazy it went, right? But the demographics of buyers changed. Because what we were seeing, there was a lot more Europeans, Swiss, Dutch, Scandinavians. Obviously, Brits have always been very popular anyway. But a lot of other European nationals started coming into Dubai. They were seeing the tax benefits. They were seeing how their government had handled it, which wasn't very, very well, the whole COVID situation, right? So a lot of people thought, actually, and then when you look at the price per square foot of what these super prime projects were selling for, when you compare it to London or Paris or New York or any of these global cities, we were massively underpriced. Massively underpriced. And I think that's what spurred the luxury market.
Yeah.
And everything followed suit, because if luxury went from 3,000 to 6,000 to 9,000 a square foot, then your things that were 600 a square foot will still going up, maybe to 900,000. But still, it's doubling, right? So prices progressively everywhere have gone up in the last 2.5 years, no matter what property you've owned. And then there's clients who are very, very smart, buying these off-plan projects, getting return on equities of 100%, even more. I mean, I just sold a Royal Atlantis unit where the client bought it 2 years ago. We've just exited at 180% on his equity.
ROI, yeah.
On his equity, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Nice.
and that was all because he bought in September 2020.
Oh, my God.
No, sorry. August 2021. So the
2020.
market already picked up by then.
Hold on.
Even then.
Picked up, but vaccinations had just come out.
Exactly.
So people were still like masks
Still
were
nervy-
there,
nervy
still,
about it,
still
yeah.
nervy about it. So the developers would still give you some
X,
kind
Y,
of
and Z.
concession.
Yeah,
like they would still give you the red carpet treatment. Like,
Yes.
hi, you want to buy? We love you. Yeah. So that's
And there were
good.
certain discounts they would give, and
It's good. You've mentioned the pandemic, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, I've noticed this, and you're better positioned to talk about this. I think, just like you said, luxury was a word thrown out. Like if there's an investment, there's a development in Dubai Investments Park, luxury apartment.
exactly.
But I think post-pandemic, the kind of clientele that's coming into Dubai's pushed up the luxury standard in some developments. Are you seeing that?
No, 100%. I think the clients are more demanding, especially the clients from Europe. Now, we've had a wave of Russian clients who've been coming in the last 12 to 15 months as well. They're a lot more, their demands are a lot more than maybe some of the nationalities that were traditionally buying here,
previously.
right? Yeah. And it's gone a lot more modern. It's got a lot more contemporary, a lot more lighter in terms of color schemes as well. So it's kind of understated luxury as well.
Right.
So it's not your blingy gold, which is
Which
what
used to
Dubai
be
used to be
before.
known for.
Yeah.
So now it's understated luxury,
Right.
and that's what people want. And you've seen that trend on the Palm where people have got these, old Nakheel villas
Yeah.
where they're spending anywhere from 5 to 15 million dirhams renovating them
Right.
and then reselling at ridiculous prices
Right.
because the locations are amazing, but the
Yeah.
villas were not so great, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big boom now on the Palm. People
Right.
buying, renovating, and reselling. And because all they're doing is they're making them into modern standards, they're
Right.
pretty much bringing them back to the bones
Right.
and rebuilding these villas because it's a land that's the value's in the land, right?
Yes.
But just renovating is not going to work. So they literally take it back to the bones because Nakheel are quite limited in terms of what you can do. But you got to keep the structure walls
Structural.
and you can rebuild the whole thing.
Right.
And then you got villas now selling.
Have you
at-
done any of these?
Sold? No. I was very close to selling one
Yeah.
recently. We agreed.
No, but are you working with any of your clients who are like, here, yes, I've got 50 million dirhams. I want you to select me a villa, build it all up again.
100%. So currently I'm working with probably 3 clients that are doing
Okay.
that. So their whole ethos is picking up villas that financially make sense. So they have to have an entry level that makes sense
Right,
as well.
of course.
We've done the maths in terms of how much they should be putting in. And it's quite a lot of money they're putting into
Right,
them.
yeah.
And then what their exit would be as well. So
Okay.
and there's companies now, there's very, very good contractors.
Yeah.
Companies that have done a lot of projects on
In
the
the
Palm
Palm,
especially. They're very Palm specific, I would say.
Right.
So these are the type of companies then we would actually partner with and get these deals done.
On your strategy side, when you're
Yeah.
helping these individuals purchase the villa,
Yeah.
how prime inside Palm do you go? Like, do you strike a balance or do you go all out? Hey, let's get the most prime at the best price.
So the thing is, if it's a client who wants to buy, renovate, and resell, then we don't want anything that's actually very nicely done.
Right.
Then
of course.
it's only down to the location.
Right.
And then there's an element of the floor plan because some floor plans are more difficult to renovate than others, right?
Right. So there's a lot of nitty gritty to it. And then,
So this is where my knowledge comes into it. So
Right.
I can then advise, let's not go with this one because the floor plan's not correct, right?
Right.
Even though the location's great, but we're limited because there's a ceiling on what people will pay for certain layouts anyway,
Right.
So if we can get this layout in this position, it doesn't have to be the best position.
Right.
On every front, you've probably got a good 30 to 40 villas, or probably more actually, depending on the fronts, where you can target. So we would
Right.
target only certain fronts and
Right.
certain location of villas.
the further out you go on the front,
Yeah.
the more expensive it gets because you're
Generally.
further away from the, generally speaking.
Because
there's
the
always
water goes
exceptions.
whiter.
Yeah. There's always exceptions. So
Yeah.
would you do like a lower front, outer, great layout? Would you do a renovation there? No, because the people would not pay premium. So you still have to go to a mid to high front.
yeah.
And then then on a mid to high front, do you have to go out? On a mid to high front, can you be a little bit in on the earlier part of the front?
No, so on the fronts, with any client, even if it's someone who's buying for themselves, generally speaking, the lower numbers
Yeah.
are the ones you want to avoid.
Right. Of course. Gotcha.
Because
Of
even
course.
renovating and resell, you're going to have a ceiling. So people are not going to pay for a lower number because your view isn't going to be so great, regardless of how nice the villa is, right?
Yeah.
And even for an end user, if they want to resell, because everyone needs to think of the exit strategy as well,
So
right?
we're talking O and above.
No. So I'm not talking about the fronts themselves.
Yeah.
Any fronts can work. A, B, C,
Oh,
D, to
right.
P,
Okay.
Any fronts can work.
Okay, so it can work.
It's the location on the front.
So the earlier part of the front is the avoided one that you need to avoid.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be further out on the front.
Exactly.
You have to be further out
Further
on the
out
front.
on the front itself, but not on the A,
Oh,
on the
right.
front
Okay,
itself.
okay. So,
yeah.
so now further out means after the half? Would you consider that?
I'd say mid to high
the tip.
is where you want to be targeting.
Okay, so that's that would work. Any front, little bit further out, and then the layout is very important
as well.
And then the entry point on the pricing is
100%.
super important.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's clients, they don't mind buying lower numbers.
Yeah.
Because they will be. So again, it depends, right? This is where when you qualify the client, you understand what their thing is, right? If they're saying, actually, we just want to buy a villa, we want to do short-term rentals on it, right? With short-term rentals, are the clients going to be that nitty-picky about? No, they're not, right? So for them, it's an ROI, right? It's a return on investment. It's and you can make very, very good short-term returns on them. So for some clients, actually the lower numbers might work.
Yes.
Because their ethos and their game plan is different. Their strategy is different, right?
Yes.
So again, it's different for each different client.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about other than villas.
Yeah.
And when you're doing luxury real estate and things are getting better for you, and you've got these clients coming in. What are your challenges that you've had to face in the past and you've overcome them? So you're really good at it, and maybe the younger ones can learn from that, or maybe you're still facing these days as well.
I think the challenges have always been the same, unfortunately, and I don't think they have changed.
Okay.
I've become better at dealing with them.
Okay.
And I think the challenge has always been is loyalty of clients. I think this is where it's really tough because, Dubai has, in my opinion, way too many agents.
Right. Okay.
Already. I mean, you got registered agents and you got the unregistered agents. It's probably 3 times what the registered agents are, right?
Do we still have that many freelancers?
I think we have a lot. We have a lot of freelance agents.
Well, you come across them in the Palm.
On the Palm, I come across a lot of them.
Housewives?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture.
Why are they freelancing still?
Because they probably have other jobs. But they could be working in industries where they are coming across this and then they're kind of part-time brokers at the same time,
they
right?
got no chance to compete with you.
No, I know.
They got no chance, to get a listing from a seller.
Yeah.
Back in pre-2008, they used to be able to close.
But mainly,
everybody was a real estate
Mainly
agent.
they have the buyers. So a lot of the times we get these kind of guys, it's mainly the buyers. But the challenge has always been is
loyalty. You said loyalty.
How do you get a client where, in other countries, generally, when I was in the UK, sellers generally work exclusive.
Right.
Obviously, buyers are a bit different because in the UK, you don't share listings.
Right.
So whichever agent has it, only they can sell it.
But
it's very limited.
But the other agent can work with them, right?
No, they can't. In the UK, they don't split.
Oh, they don't split. So he works with both buyer and seller.
Exactly.
Okay.
So whereas here it's an open market, it's a US model. It's better in my opinion.
Right.
But at the same time, it's getting a loyalty. So this could be both sides for sellers and for buyers as well, right? The biggest challenge with sellers is even if you sign exclusivity, they see the value in what you bring. They sign exclusivity. You do the videos and pictures and everything, right? Unfortunately, within the real estate field, everyone has access to owners' contact details, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of that going on where agents are contacting sellers. Listen, I've got a client, but I don't want to go through your agent. Let's just do the viewing. And, if something happens, then we can talk about the exclusive agent, but let's just kind of go with it.
Right.
And I would say half the sellers will go with it.
Really?
I would say. And half will say, well, this is my agent. This is his number. Contact them. And for me, it's trying to make sure that the sellers I'm working with are of that 50%.
Yeah.
That they're going to come to me and say, this guy has seen your ad on Instagram or whatever, on Property Finder, and he's contacted me direct. And he wants me to, and it happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's having then that control of a seller really working for, because it's got to be respect from both sides as well. I think when a seller then doesn't have that loyalty, when you're showing them the loyalty, the respect, and really working for them, then it's not a fair system. So that's a challenge. Then you have the challenge on the buyer side as well.
Okay.
How do you get a buyer to work with you, ideally exclusive? When someone like myself, who's done Palm for nearly 14 years, who has way more knowledge than 95% of the agents out there on the Palm,
90,
right? Or 99% or whatever you want to call it, right?
98%.
And unfortunately, a lot of these agents have maybe been not in the market as long, maybe misguiding them, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the bigger things I would say is a lot of agents here, not all of them, I would say 80-20, which sounds very high, work for themselves and not for the client. So, when people say to me, what makes you different to the other agents? And the only answer I ever give them is 80% of the agents, when they meet a client and the client sitting in front of them, a lot of the time their thing is, how can I maximize my commission with this client sitting in front of me? That's how they think, right? Yeah. Then you got the 20% of agents who think, how can I work for my client to get him the best possible property, where we forge a relationship, where he's going to give me referrals and it's going to be a long-term thing, and then he'll only want to work with me. But I think that's a minority of agents, unfortunately.
You know what I've been saying? Like, okay, I've been in the market for a long time. And look, it is a dilemma, right? Because you're young, you're trying to make money. Yeah. And, there are various factors pulling you. So you keep thinking, okay, can I make more money? Can I make it? So I told my team.
And I get it. I get it.
I told my team, and this is what I've been saying for the last 6 months to them. Listen, client wins first. Yeah. Then we win. Yeah. Then the developer wins, or the seller, or whatever, and then the government and Dubai, everyone wins. Yeah. But I said, look, because there is a concept, win-win for everybody. So I said, hey, can't we all win together? I said, no, you got to put client win first. Yeah, but we come right behind them. Yeah. So I'm not saying to my agents, put yourself like last, because that's going to be too difficult for them.
At the same time, you don't want to just be someone who's like a tourist guide, right?
Yeah, so being walked over by the client. Yeah. But at the same time, you want to be right behind his win, 100%. Not above his win. So he lost, you won. And I've had situations like this is like 8 years ago. There was 2 properties, and one property would pay me more and one property would pay me less. Exclusive client. And he said, look, Fahd, which one should I buy? You know what we ended up doing? We did pros and cons on both properties. And I said, look, because there are 2 sides to every coin as 100%. Well. There is no perfect better than the other. There is 2 sides. So I said, look, these are both the sides on both, right? Regardless of what money I'm going to get paid. He didn't know about it. Yeah. I knew. I wanted him to pick the better one. But I said, look, pros and cons on both. Now you decide. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, he chose the one that I got paid more. Yeah. Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah. But I didn't push him like, okay, no, you got to do this one because the other one's so bad. And you know what? There's been barakah because I'm managing team's managing his properties for the last four years. Good. No complaints, easy going. And
it's a long-term relationship.
So you're coming back to loyalty. So you work with the 50% who are going to be loyal to you. Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah. So I'm surprised, like if I hear you tell me you facing these challenges still.
No, still. With buyers, it's a challenge. With sellers, it's a challenge. I think it's probably less challenging now than it used to be 10, 15 years ago when I first started. I think more sellers see the value and they will give me their properties. At the same time, buyers, I sit down with them and they understand, okay, this guy isn't your everyday kind of broker. And that's not how we pitch ourselves. We pitch ourselves as advisors and not brokers or agents, so to speak. Yes. And then they see the value in it as well. And I also have exclusive buyers agreements. So especially if buyers contact me, because I get a lot of leads. So I get leads from maybe social media and I get a lot of referrals from clients, right? Right. So those clients are contacting me. When you're cold calling and you're chasing, you're on the back foot. Yes. There's no way these random clients are going to give you exclusivity, whatever, right? Yeah. But when it's the other way around, there's more of an opportunity for you to pitch your services. So even with the buyers, I try and get exclusive. Do they all sign? No, they don't. But it's something I will offer them for sure.
Because they're seeing your brand, right? So are you still actively, because I've seen you in the last 2-3 years, maybe not growing the Mr. Palm Jumeirah, like the nomiker. Yeah. With that much, like 8 years ago, you were Mr. Palm Jumeirah. Yeah. And everybody knew it and you were like even playing on it. Yeah. But the last 3 years, I've seen like you're less pushing because, hold on, sorry. After you, there's Mr. Dubai Hills.
There's Mr. Everything.
There's Mr. Whatever. Right? Okay, so, fine. Copying is an act of flattery. So good on you. Yeah. But I've seen you kind of like, are you still focusing and growing that brand, Mr. Palm Jumeirah, or less now?
See, I think because with Knight Frank, it was a management position. Right. Then I was with Eva. Okay. So Knight Frank, I was there for 3 years in a management, like a partner role. Yeah. Then I was sales director at Eva, right? Right. I've always stayed transactional, but I wasn't an everyday advisor, so to speak. Okay. Right. So I'd say I did less of the social media. I've continued doing it. I've still stayed consistent. Okay. If you look at my account, it's still consistent. I do post consistently. Right. 6-7 years ago, I was probably a lot more active on it. A lot more active. And I think 6-7 years ago, very few people understood the benefits of social media. So I think I was maybe one of the early adopters
Very
when
early
it came
one.
to social media, and a lot of people are like, does this really work? Does it not? In the last 2 years, and there's nothing wrong with it, but everyone's on social media, everyone's doing it. The only thing I would say, I think there's a lot of content being created by a lot of agents. And I get it, everyone has their own comfort levels of what they create and what they think is what the message they want to put out. But there's a lot of content that people are not really using anything new. It's nothing genuine. It's all copycat, right? So one guy does a video on X and then 10 other agents say, oh, how much rent do you pay? Whatever these videos are, right? It's all copy, cut and paste, right? And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think people need to be a little bit more genuine, a bit more natural, maybe come up with their own ideas rather than just always following the crowd. And I think we've got to a stage now in Dubai where everyone's on social media, which is great as brokers, because they've understood the power of social media and how they can get clients from it. But because everyone's doing exactly the same thing, you're then competing with hundreds and other thousands of it doing the same thing. So what really pushes your product? There's no USP, right? So with my social media, I still do it. And I alluded to it earlier as well. I don't have a social media strategy as such. I've always had 2 accounts. I have my personal account, which is my personal brand, Mr. Palm Jumeirah. And I have now my company account, which used to be a different account before, but it's now the luxury address account, right?
Right.
With my personal account, it's less about strategy, but it's consistent posting, it's value-driven posts, and it's natural posts as well, right? And I think those get more engagement,
of course,
than every post being about hard facts and numbers and 1 bed's here, 2 beds, this launch or whatever it is, right? Because everyone's doing that. So I think with what I do, for me, it works. I'm not saying it works for everyone. And I don't post every single day either, but with what I do, it works. So I'll continue doing that. But with the company one, there'll probably be more strategy and more thought behind that one, because that's a company brand. It's very different to a personal brand. People need to understand, as a personal brand, you're not your company, and vice versa, right?
Yeah,
so don't make a personal account which looks like a company account.
Yes, of course.
That's what I see. Personal guys, it's only about real estate. It's all hard facts and numbers. And for me, I think people will resonate more with people they think they can actually have a conversation with.
Yeah.
And they can only do that if your account's more natural.
Natural, yeah.
It's more you. Yeah. It doesn't have to be.
Remember 8 years ago, you were the one teaching the social media class in Keller Williams.
I was doing the classes. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. And I was telling people.
And I remember, hey, listen, do 3 posts on work and 1 personal post, you eating ice cream. Yeah. You were the first people, I think, in Dubai real estate who had the 10,000 Instagram followers who could actually post a link. Do you remember those days?
Yes, yeah.
So you could actually post a link. If you had less than 10,000 followers, you couldn't post a link. Coming back to this loyalty thing, right? Yes. So I'm learning that it's a mindset, right? So the guy who's going to value your decade and a half of experience is going to be willing to pay. Like, the guy who wants to drive a Rolls Royce, he understands that the Rolls just doesn't stand for money that he's spending. It stands for a quality experience that he's going to have. So the guy who wants to drive the Mercedes and the BMW is different. Yeah. The guy who wants to drive the Rolls is different. Yeah. And the guy who wants to drive the brand new Rolls is different. Yeah. So when we talk about loyalty of clients, right? So one of the ways that I've learned is that the clients who ask for a discount on my services, and sometimes I give them a discount, but then later on my team comes to me and says, like, this guy, like, seriously, like, because it's the guy who's going to ask for the discount. Then he's going to do the other things. And there's 100%. He's not going to understand, like, because this bless him, because he's trying to save some money, and that's fine with me. So one of the things I do now is, like, after every time I get a lesson, I'm like, okay, now no more discounts. You either pay and you get the value for the service that we're providing, or there's other people who be willing to work with you in the market.
No, I know.
We're going to talk about you setting up the luxury address now, but before I get there, let's still be on the Palm. Last 2 questions. Yeah. One, some of your best trophy assets that you've sold.
Okay.
Maybe the biggest deals that you've done. Also, then after that, some of the biggest challenges you've had in the Palm. I know one deal that I can remind you of. The hurricane that caused but that was, I think it was Barari. I remember the deal.
Yes.
The hurricane in Haiti that caused the documents to go. Okay. Yes. Let's talk about Palm first, and then we can talk about
So Palm, I've See, alhamdulillah, I've done a lot of very, very good deals.
Alhamdulillah.
Actually, I've never really focused on the amount of what I'm selling it for.
Yeah.
I'd say one of the best deals or one of the most memorable deals was a penthouse I recently sold at One Palm,
MashaAllah.
which was 55 million.
Nice.
Very, but with a lot of these deals, they're very challenging from both sides. A lot of logistics goes on, and the whole
That's a good
process.
one, by the way. That's a trophy asset.
And that was a really, and that client is now thinking of reselling at 75. So,
Really?
and that's just over a year.
So he didn't buy it as a place to live.
Initially, he did.
Wow.
But because the markets kept going up, he's now thinking, because the idea was to renovate it and live in it.
Right.
Now he's thinking, do I just resell it then? Because the market's still going up and up and up, right?
Right.
So that was very good. I mean, I've done quite a few villas between 40 and 50 million as well. In fact, when I was at Keller Williams, I did the deal with Gina.
Right,
That
yes.
was a signature villa. That
yeah.
was a very nice deal with a Saudi client.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, what I find very interesting is the type of clients I'm dealing with. You know, a lot of kind of, government people, a lot of CEOs, celebrities, sports people. It's that level of client as well, which is very, very interesting because you kind of get an insight to their life. You go for lunch with them, you go for dinners with them, you socialize with them outside of office hours. And it's nice to get a glimpse of, the kind of life that they live as well. And I've always found that very, very interesting.
Are you aspiring to buy that penthouse yourself?
No.
Is that part of the long-term vision or the short-term vision? It could be possible tomorrow.
See, the thing is,
but do you aspire to that yourself?
If I wanted to buy something kind of really kind of luxury, I mean, I bought a property on the Palm 5 years ago, right? It's done very, very well.
I was there when you bought it.
Yeah, exactly. I was at Keller Williams at the time. Obviously, it's a 2-bedroom. It's a simple one. But if I was to buy something really kind of out of the world, I would love to, if it was Dubai, it would have to be a Palm villa for me.
Okay.
Yeah. More than the penthouses.
Right. Okay, so let's say a Palm villa, 75 million, 100 million.
Yeah.
Do you aspire to that?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Because when you sold it for so long, why not be someone who actually buys a product?
Who goes and lives there yourself?
Yes, and why not?
Why not? MashaAllah. Yeah. I think like if any agent who's working in Dubai and says, no, I don't aspire to that, then to me, that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the other thing, and one of the other reasons, just to touch, the reason I bought on the Palm is because I believe in that product as well.
Yes.
I cannot be shouted out how, I've done the Palm for so many years and I do this and my experience and knowledge. But at the same time, I personally don't believe in the product. Yeah. And that's the reason I bought. I could have bought anywhere actually. Yes. Right? But for me, I genuinely believed in it. And, beachfront properties have historically done well. In the last 2.5 years, they've done incredibly well.
Globally, right?
Yeah, globally.
Like it's beachfront, golf course, park, transport, links. It just goes down like this. Water has
when
that
you
effect.
look at the criteria.
Yeah.
And
it's
it has
it's water. Sorry, it's a so water.
Beach and water.
And in water, it's beach first, then creek, then artificial lake, and then go on.
In Dubai, you've got lots of kind of the lagoon concept
as well. Yeah.
But there's an element of calmness living next to the water. I mean, it's scientific as well, right? And for me, having the kids, having the missus, I come from a 2 up, 2 down. Born in Blackburn, very humble family. We're very simple people. 6 kids, mum and dad. They didn't have much growing up. They did an incredible job.
They gave you a lot.
Yeah, they gave us a lot, right? In terms of what they had, which is very simple, right? Yeah. But being brought up like that, of course, I had aspirations. I'm going to have kids, and I want them to have this life, right? I mean, we had a simple life, but it's what my parents could do at that time, right?
Yeah.
We now live in a different time. Yeah. We live in a time where we can give more, right? Yeah. And we can do more.
Yes.
Which is why I've moved away and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm giving my kids a life, which I would have dreamt of, years ago, right? I mean, I never even, used to go to a beach where I lived, and all that was just super kind of, something was unattainable.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's a story. I don't know this gentleman back in the day, but he did UK real estate in the 70s and the 80s when all this wealth from the GCC was flowing in there. Mm-hmm. And when he came here, he bought like floors and villas in Palm and Marina. I think people who are involved in Dubai real estate, especially this time or maybe the last 10 years, I think a lot of us are going to have similar stories.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of wealth going around. And, I don't know if you recognize this, Yas, but, wealth and being around wealth helps you generate more wealth.
No,
So
100%.
you're around luxury people,
Yeah.
5-star athletes and all the time. So you getting into one of those villas is
Yeah, and it's a
SubhanAllah,
mindset
it's-
actually
yeah, it's a
dealing
mindset
with these
thing,
people
yeah.
as well. 100%.
yeah, alhamdulillah. Let's talk about challenges. I know that deal in Haiti, but no, the papers were in Haiti. You weren't selling real estate in Haiti. But,
Yes, I mean,
or any other deal that was like,
See,
very challenging.
that was very interesting, that deal, because it was the villa in Al Barari.
Okay, it was a brag.
An agent in Keller Williams had that villa.
Yeah.
I had seen the villa with another agent, not from Keller Williams.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. And that client of mine, I think 9 months we'd been working on a Palm villa.
Right.
But he was exclusively working with me.
Right. He trusted you.
He trusted me, right?
Yeah.
He then one day said, what about Al Barari? And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, oh my God, this is 9 months and now you're shifting the areas.
Yeah.
But if that's what you want, let's explore Al Barari. So
Right.
I knew an agent who I'd worked with previously, and I worked with her, and she showed us everything in Al Barari, right?
Right.
And there was one villa that he liked, and he said, listen, I'll take this villa, but I want it for this price. And it was kind of a low offer. It was a bit of a low ball offer,
Really?
right? Because in the 9 months we were looking on the Palm, he kept offering, and he kept missing out, and the prices kept going up. And he was like
Right.
chasing. It was always like 500,000 dirhams short, right? With his
Right.
offers, right? And he wouldn't really listen. He was kind of the kind of guy, no, well, this is my offer, take it, leave it.
Right.
And then when we went to Barari, he kind of liked it because he was getting double
The
the
space,
space, right?
yeah.
For the same money.
Right.
And he was like, listen, I don't mind it tonight. And Al Barari is a beautiful green area as well. He goes,
Right.
if we can get this for the X amount, I'll buy it. So I said to the agent, listen, can we get it for X? And she was like, yes, that's too low of an offer. I said, okay. At the same time, I found out that the agent at Keller Williams had the villa as well.
Yeah.
And whilst in negotiation, I'd mentioned it to Zan, like, I'm trying to close this deal. And then the other agent was like, listen, yes, I've got this villa. Do the deal through me.
Right.
And, of course, you think, well, do you keep it in-house with the same company? But at the same time, I put myself in the other position of the other agent.
Other
right?
agent, yeah.
And it's
You got to
happened
be
to me a lot.
ethical, bro.
Yeah,
You
because
gotta-
it happens to me, right? I'm going around with agents, and then I don't want them to do. So I said, listen, I have to do if
Yeah.
the deal happens, it's got to be with this agent.
Yes, yeah.
But even at that time, she was like, it's a very low offer. I don't think it'll happen
Right.
anyway. Anyway, cut long story short, it was very interesting, that transaction, because my wife went into labor.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah. With my first son at the time. We were in hospital.
Right.
And my client was trying to get through to me. And I was like, what is this? And it was like 9 o'clock at night. Sorry, not the client, the agent was
Right,
trying to get
okay.
in touch with me, right?
And
I
you
was
told her, like, look, wife's
and I
in
was
a
like,
position.
please, WhatsApp me. Like, I'm in the hospital. Da, da, da. She goes, oh, the client's accepted your offer.
Right, mashallah.
I was like, oh, wow. And then obviously 24 hours, my son was born. And,
Mashallah.
but it was like, that was kind of,
Alhamdulillah.
everything kind of happened for a reason, right? And I think that was the luck of, if you look at it.
The blessings,
of that first
the born.
son of mine as well, yeah. So then
Yeah.
that deal got agreed.
Do you know what that means? Have more babies. Okay, I'm joking.
Well, we've got 2 now, so.
Alhamdulillah.
And then it was a bit of a drama because obviously the deal got agreed, it got signed, and then the other agent was like, yes, what are you doing? You should have done the deal through me. You could have
Right.
been in-house. And so, and then even the deal itself was very challenging because
Yes.
the papers were, like you said, it was.
I think the seller was a BVI registered seller, and his papers were done
all
by a
expired
company
as well, and
The company was in Haiti, or it could have been in Panama, wherever. And then there was a tornado, so the whole thing was
tornado happened. So it took
Tsunami or
7
tornado?
months. But the deal, alhamdulillah, it
Right,
went
right,
through. It was
right,
fine.
right.
But it was. But to me, when I look at most of my deals,
Yeah.
every deal there's a story behind it. It's
Yes.
so challenging.
Yes.
Every single deal is the same.
I hear you, brother. But you know, I want to share something with you, and I want to share this with everybody. You know what? I used to have the same. But you know what? I thought about this, and I said, why is every deal challenging? Like the simplest deal, when it's coming close to transfer, I'm like, where's the challenge? It didn't come yet. And then it comes.
Then it comes.
So you know what I said? I just wrote down an affirmation. All my deals happen very smoothly. I get paid very fast, and I'm very happy. And you know what? Because sometimes we're attracting these men. For some people, if they've not worked hard and built a pyramid, they don't feel that they deserve the $1 billion. But you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So I started saying to myself, like, you know what? Alhamdulillah, things happen. Challenges do come. I just don't want to attract them anymore, man.
See, but the good thing I would say is, all the deals are challenging.
Yeah.
But I personally don't get involved with my deals in that sense.
Right.
So all my deals are always handled by a conveyancing company.
Right,
So a lot of
okay.
those challenges, a lot of the
You
stress,
just outsource them.
yeah, they handle it. And I've used, a lot of agents and companies, sometimes they don't see the value of you in a
Right.
conveyancing company or even having
The
in-house.
expert's the expert, man.
For me, they are the best. And
Yeah.
every deal I've done, I'd say minus 1 or 2 in the 13 years I've been here because the clients were insistent.
You always use a conveyancer.
Always use a conveyancer.
You'd even pay out of your own pocket. I've done that once, to be honest with you.
I'm pretty good with getting the clients to pay.
Yeah.
I've very rarely paid conveyance because
Yes.
it's they need the service. Okay,
Yeah.
I need it as well, but it's
Yeah.
actually for them.
Yeah.
Why would I pay for your service?
Yeah.
I'm not paying.
Yeah.
It. And I think if you can explain to a client the benefits of a conveyancing company
Right.
and how little fee they're paying,
Yeah, on a 55 million dirham transaction.
it's very rare they will. It's normally on the smaller ticket deals
Correct.
that people question the fee.
Correct.
Interestingly as well, when I was in Spain recently, I was talking to the agent. I said, "Can you give me a breakdown of your fees?" In Spain, the lawyers charge 1% of the selling price
My
as
God.
their fees.
additional.
And I was like, who pays that?
Yeah.
People here, 5,000 dirhams and they're complaining.
conveyancing, 5 to 7. But you know what? Yes, I think we do need lawyers here to
100%.
do the. In the UK, it's a standard solicitor's fee, right?
Everywhere in Europe, lawyers, even
but
in the
it's
US, it's the same.
The fee is like not 1%, right?
Oh, the fees are nowhere near 1%.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think the lawyers should charge 1% because they're doing paperwork. They're
Yeah.
not doing like what the agents
It's a
are doing.
facilitation,
Plus,
basically.
they get paid salaries and stuff like that. But we
Yeah.
do need lawyers, I think, in Dubai because they would be one step above the conveyancers, I think. Or they
Exactly.
could, or if the land department would make conveyancing mandatory,
Yeah.
because a lot of agents can muck it up. They don't
See,
know
the
what they're
thing
doing.
is, the conveyancing company I use,
Yeah.
the conveyancer is a lawyer.
Yeah, some of them are lawyers, so they know
But
what
the
they're
majority
doing.
aren't. You're right.
Yes.
Majority are actually just more kind of admin, really.
Yeah,
is
they're
what they're
admin,
doing.
yeah.
That, especially
Yeah.
in-house conveyancers.
Yeah.
But when things go wrong, if there's a lawyer involved, and I think there's been so many of my deals that have been saved purely because the contracts have been written by a lawyer. It's
Right.
a conveyancing contract. So there's protection for buyers and sellers and agents.
Correct.
It's watertight.
Right.
But when you don't have that, then it becomes wishy-washy. And, what do we do next? Or there's a default or, how
Right.
do we move forward with
Challenges,
things?
yeah.
Yeah. And
Bless
that's why
you.
for me, it's, if I had to pay a conveyancing fee, I would pay it happily. But luckily, I've never had to do that.
Let's talk about your company, yeah?
Yeah.
So, yes, I've got to ask you another question before we talk about your company. You said you came here. You weren't planning on staying here long term. Now, what's your vision for the next 20, 50 years for yourself?
Yeah.
Do you want to retire here, live here?
So, obviously, I'm very settled here.
Palm, tip villa, $100
So
million.
I've been here nearly 14 years now, right?
Okay.
I have a wife, beautiful children.
Bless you.
It's great. I was contemplating moving back a couple of years ago, with the kids, because once you have kids, the logistics change as well.
Right.
But then I look at the life the kids would have in the UK compared to Dubai. There's absolutely zero comparison. What the life
Right.
my kids have here, it's going to be very difficult to globally find anywhere that kind of lifestyle
At
for
the
the
moment.
children.
Yes.
At the moment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the lifestyle I have as well. It's not just about it's about me. I have a very good lifestyle here as well, right?
Alhamdulillah.
So for now, we're staying here.
Yeah.
I'm staying put. Going forward, how do I see myself? I would want to basically split my time between 3 countries.
Okay, I know.
It would be having the business here, running the business here, spending maybe 3 months of the year living in Spain,
Yeah, right.
and then also having some time in the UK.
Yeah.
Because my family,
With
and
your
my
family
parents, and I'm going 2 weeks.
Do you still feel home when you go to the UK?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I only
yeah.
go 2 weeks a year, which I know is not a lot.
Yeah, but when you're there, do you feel home?
Of course.
Like the moment you get off the plane, you're like, okay, I'm home.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
It's still, especially where I come from, Blackburn, it's
Yeah.
still the same that it was 30 years ago. So it really hasn't changed. The roads, the shops, everything looks the same.
Is it?
Right?
Is it?
Yeah,
Mashallah.
it's that kind of town,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where I come from. I could never live
Like
there long term.
Blackburnistan?
I would say
Kind of
that.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
would say
Yeah.
that. It's a very interesting town.
Yeah,
but it's
mashallah.
probably one of the most working class towns also
Mashallah.
in the UK as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's at least spending at least a month in the UK. So
Right.
so the kids can see my family more, my family can
Right.
see me more. So ideally, that's what I want going
Okay.
forward.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons I've started exploring Spain.
Right.
Spain is one of the target markets of the properties I'm going to be selling, especially in Marbella.
Right.
Because ideally, I'd want to have a place there in
Right.
south of Spain.
So you would sell Marbella properties to Dubai or internationally? Or
No, so
Dubai
Marbella
to
properties, so
Marbella?
GCC clients for the south of Spain.
Right.
See, the
okay.
thing is, the south of Spain is very interesting, right? Quick history, obviously, Andalusia, Al-Andalus,
Right.
Arabic, Moorish history for 800 years.
Right.
Arabs live there, all very, very Islamic heritage there as well.
Right.
Arabs have always had affiliation to the south
Right.
of Spain
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, they were there for 700 years.
800 years, in fact,
800 years.
when you look at the history,
Okay.
right? So, and the people with money here, they are buying properties in London, they are buying properties in France. Spain, not so much, but I think it's because they've never had maybe companies that have specialized in Spain. And they
Right.
don't understand, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you're going to move to a country and buy not even move, but buy a holiday home, right? You want to know X, Y, and Z, right? That's the
Right.
reason I went. It was a fact-finding mission for me to go
Right.
to Spain,
Okay.
how it works for the buyers and sellers and the laws and the
Right.
fees and this
Okay.
and that. Because I need to be confident of knowing what I'm selling there.
Right.
Plus, prices are very reasonably priced in the south of Spain. Marbella is beautiful. I
Right.
would say Marbella is one of the hotspots in Europe.
Isn't that one of the billionaires?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people now with money in Europe, they'll go to Monaco, they'll go to Marbella, they maybe go
Marbella,
to
yes.
Mykonos, they'll go to Ibiza.
Right.
There's certain cities that people will visit or frequent in the summer. Marbella is one of them.
Marbella is one of them, yeah.
Marbella is one of them. And even when I went, there's a lot of Arabs coming there
So you can see
for
it.
holidays. Yeah. But when it comes to buying, maybe they're a little bit sharp.
Not yet.
Understandably, yeah.
Not
so,
yet.
so I'm trying to find, I found a gap there and I want to fill that gap. So I want to be the advisor for clients in the region. It doesn't have to be Arabic, by the way. It's just people living in the region who want to buy in Spain.
Isn't this fun? Because I can tell like you like Spain. You spend 18 months
Yes,
living there, and
Yeah.
you know you pass off looking at Spanish as well. Like, are you
Well,
fluent
Mexican.
with your Spanish? Okay, yeah. Mexican Spanish,
Yeah.
but you're good with your Spanish, and you can get by
I
very
can
very
get by.
well.
I can get by. I mean, it's not as good as it used to be.
Right,
Obviously,
okay.
when I lived there, it was different.
Okay.
I haven't visited Spain since 2014.
All right,
So
okay,
there's been a 9-year gap.
Okay.
But when you get there, everything kind of comes back. And
right. Alhamdulillah.
yeah, so my language isn't quite there, but I
Okay.
think the more and more I'm going to be going there and
Right.
visiting and understanding the market, I think it'll just grow. And most people speak English there. There's a lot of Marbella is very, very cosmopolitan.
Okay.
Maybe nowhere near as Dubai with 180 nationalities, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of Europeans there, a lot of Swedes, a lot of Scandinavians in general, a lot of Dutch people there, a lot of British people there.
Right.
So it's mixed, but it's more European mix, I would say. Whereas Dubai is everything.
Everything. Okay. Let's talk about your journey to your not the final stomping ground, but you know, on your journey to your success. Now you've got your own company. Like you've everybody's wanted a piece of you, and you're like finally said, like, listen, I'm doing it my own way, my thing, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the company, introduce it to us, but
Yeah.
talk us through about like the triumphs on your path to establishing it, or
Yeah.
challenges as well.
Yeah. I mean, I originally was going to set up the
What's it called now?
the luxury address.
The luxury address. It's a very
yeah.
good name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Very
synonymous
quick.
it's easy,
Quick.
and people can understand from the name
Yeah.
of kind of what we do, right?
Correct.
Originally, the idea was when I was with Keller Williams, in fact, right?
Correct. Yeah.
When I left originally Keller Williams, I thought when I leave Keller Williams, I'm going to set up my own agency.
Right.
I was in then talks with Knight Frank at the time because they had the Atlantis project. And I thought, do I set up my agency now? Or do I actually work for a global corporate brand that's recognized worldwide?
Right.
Because you can work for multiple companies in Dubai, right? And they could be the biggest brokers
In
regionally.
Dubai, yes.
Globally, no one's heard of them.
Yes. Yes.
And again, you know, when I went to Spain and I was talking to, and I met with a lot of different people
Right.
there, right, from a lot of different backgrounds. And as soon as I mentioned, so this is my 13 years in Dubai. Every company, I mean, there's no point even mentioning the name because they don't know them.
Right,
As
yes.
soon as Knight Frank's mentioned, the
Yes.
ears perk
Because
up,
they're
right?
global. Yeah.
They're global. They're in Spain as well, right? So I thought, okay, let me do that. It was a senior position there as well. Plus the fact of being responsible of selling one of the super prime projects in Dubai,
Right.
being it on the palm as well. There was a lot of benefits for me to join. So I joined there. I had a great 3 years there. And then I really was fixated of leaving Knight Frank to set up my own agency. So when I left, interestingly, there was a deal that I'd done with an agent in Blue Waters at the time.
Right.
And he said to me, listen, now, because when I did the deal, I said, and I'd left Knight Frank by this stage, and I was like, listen, I don't have a company at the moment because I've just left. I'm going to do, for the deal I'm doing, there's going to be no representation on my side. Don't worry, my seller will pay me my fee. That was how the deal was done, right? So when he said, okay, before once the contract was signed, my CEO wants to meet you. She just wants to have a coffee with you. I said, okay, well, fine. I'm open to meeting people. I thought to discuss the deal. Anyway, met the CEO, a very nice lady. She'd been in the market. She has a big background in off-plan, very Russian-oriented company. And they said, listen, yes, why do you come and work for us? We know you want to set up your own thing, but come and work for us, even if it's just for a year, and help us establish the company. It's a new company. It's been around 6 months. We've got very good financial backing, but we need someone to spearhead it. Initially, I turned the offer down. I said, I'm not interested. I said, I'm not even meeting other people because I know as soon as I meet people, it's an offer for a director role or whatever, right? She was very persistent and I gave her that. She came back with numbers and she's like, okay, we're happy to offer you this. And then it kind of got to the stage where she said, okay, you give me the numbers and we'll work around it. And I was like, okay, fine, give me these numbers and I'll work with you for a year. And they agreed to it.
Yeah, okay, good.
So even though I was fixated to do it, I was then convinced, obviously, and sometimes the numbers do talk, right? And I thought, okay, in 12 months, I'm going to be financially a lot better off if I do this. And it was a challenge because I was building the company and the team from scratch.
Right.
They only had admins. They had the back office staff and had a few agents, very small office. And I think I mentioned to you, I joined in February 2022.
Right.
And there was about 7 or 8 people in the company.
Right.
I left in February 2023. So I did my 12 months and I left after 12 months. And I was very honest. I said, I've done my year, I'm leaving. Financially was probably one of the best years I've had as well.
Right.
So it's not only about the money, because if it was about the money, I would have stayed.
You would have stayed, yeah.
But maybe it's an ego thing.
Right.
But for me to have lived here for so long and then not follow through on my passion of having my own agency would be a waste for me as well, right?
Right.
And 13 is a long time to have lived here and not followed through on it.
Right.
So I did my 1 year. It went very, very well. When I left, the company was at 176 to show you the growth of the company and and how well they did. And it's a very, very good company in its own right as well. So I left on good terms. And then I was like, that's it. I'm definitely not meeting with any other person or investor or client. 'Cause a lot of my clients also wanted to partner with me.
Right, yeah.
And I thought initially, and I met with a lot of different people. I said, what's your advice? Should I bring a partner in or should I do it myself? And majority said, listen, if you financially have the money, do it yourself.
Yeah.
You could bring a partner in later on. But if you initially try and do it, because you're going to have your own vision, you're the one with the experience, right? And you probably want to run it in a certain way.
Correct.
As soon as partners are bought in, then and then you're accountable to someone as well, right? Which I don't want to be. So February I left. I started the paperwork probably March, April. From end of May, June, my company's official.
Right. Alhamdulillah.
We're just going through the office process. It's under fit out. It's taking a bit longer than expected. By September, the office will be open in Golden Mile and the Palm as well. So the ethos of the company is simple, right? We want to be specialists. We don't want to be selling anything and everything.
Right.
Number one. The ethos is we specialize in beachfront communities. So your Palm, your Ema beachfront, your new buildings in JBR, your Jumeirah Bays, your Blue Waters, these communities, and branded residences. Branded residences, as you know, it's kind of the in thing, but I have dealt with branded residences for a number of years, and it's something I feel an affiliation to as well. So we want to do beachfront and branded residences. At the same time, we also are going to be competing with the big boys, because what we want to do is what all the big agencies are doing.
Right.
I'm talking, your Sotheby's and your big companies. So how can we differentiate? Which is where the Marbella things come into play as well.
Right.
We're also going to be specializing in Marbella. And the other thing as well, there's going to be an ethos in the company. The company, I want the agents to be aligned in terms of what my company values and ethos are, is to be client-centric and work for the client. Something that we've already alluded to already. And try and work with every client. It's not going to be possible, but to work exclusively with sellers, buyers. It's not a volume business for us. I don't want to have more than 6, 7, maybe 8 agents. So it's a very boutique niche concept in that sense. But the concept should be that every client sees us as a trusted advisor. And by trusting us, they give us some kind of exclusivity, some kind of control over.
Correct. Let's talk about, let's say somebody wanted to join you. Okay. What skills and traits would they bring on the table if you were to say, seriously looking at them, yeah, I think you could work with us?
See, for me, initially, because we're going to be so specialists in certain communities, I'm looking for advisors who've been in the market maybe two years minimum,
Right.
and they're a specialist in a community. It could even be a specialist in the community where they're specialists in the development as well, right?
Right.
So I want hyper specialist agents, brokers, whatever you want to call them, right? Who already have the experience. I don't want to be with these agents. I don't want to be the ones. I want to be their leader. I want to be their mentor. I'm there to help them grow, to motivate, inspire, be impact, influence them, uplift them. That's what my role. What I don't want to be doing is babysitting and spoon feed. That's what I don't want to be doing. So that's initially the type of agents I want to bring in. Area specialists who are go-getters themselves. Ideally have social media presence as well, because I think that's very important, because I want all my agents to work in that way, because that's something different to the portals that if done correctly can actually give you a lot more return.
Right.
Portals, as you know, are expensive, but what do you get out of them?
Yeah.
It's hit and miss. But that's my personal experience.
Even for you?
Even for me. I think portals, especially anything above 5 million, it becomes a lot more challenging. 100%. I just think those clients are not necessarily going on property finance or your bayouts, right?
Yeah.
So then you need to have a brand. You need to self-brand yourself so that people contact you because you're a brand, you're a specialist, so this, a specialist like that. So that's what I'm initially looking for. Now, I also understand, why would someone who's already in a company, in a comfort zone, already billing, making good numbers, good at what they do, want to then join a brand new agency? So that's going to come with challenges as well when you're being that selective. But at the same time, I also do want to bring in newer agents. And with these agents, there would be more of a training element to it.
Right.
So I've always done coaching with agents. I've done master classes as well.
Right.
Which I've broken down into 6 basically chapters, or whatever you want to call them, right? So what I would do with the newer brokers I bring in is I would actually be spending X amount of time training them as well. So you're going to have, so ideally I want the agents that I'm just leading them, but then I appreciate that you're not always going to have agents like that. You're going to have some agents that need some nurturing and some training element of it as well. So then I would be the one training them as well. But, ultimately we live in a world now where the amount of books you can read, the amount of podcasts you can watch, and these books cost nothing, 70, 80, 90, 100 dirhams, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of knowledge in these books is insane. It's taken me a long time to appreciate books. And that's me being honest. I was never a book reader, right? Probably about 3-4 years ago.
Okay, when
COVID happened and stuff, right? I thought maybe I start reading books, right? And the thing was, and the reason I bring that up is I remember when I was doing a training session at this previous company I was working for, right? And I gave them 3 books
to read. Yeah.
The first thing, which pretty much everyone asked, how much does the book cost? Right? And I said to them, you've got a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
I was like that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. How much does that book cost? Yeah. Because you don't understand that a 70 dirham book will give you value worth millions of dirhams.
There could be one idea that's worth $1 million.
Because you read a book, you get one idea from that that can up your game 10-fold, 50-fold, 100-fold, right? Correct. So that book is actually costing you nothing. The question you should be asking is, how quick can I buy this book and where do I need to buy the book?
Yeah.
That's the question. And I think that's, again, a lot of the agents, I think probably 80-20, they think like that. The first question they'll ask is, how much is the book? Rather than saying, well, if someone is saying this book is really good, I need to be on Amazon now or going to a bookshop and buying that book and reading it and getting the value. So, and the reason I say that is because agents now can create so much value themselves by reading the books, watching the podcast, doing courses.
Yeah.
No matter how good you are, no matter how many years you've been in the industry, you never know enough. I still read books. I still go on. I still pay money. Sometimes, even the Ryan Serhan courses.
Right. Yes.
And those are like $1,000 or whatever, right? And people are like, that's a lot. $1,000 is nothing. You're paying 3,500 dirhams for what? That's he's $1 billion broker. He's giving you his full insight. Why try and learn everything? Like, of course, you learn on the job and you learn things, but if you can have shortcuts by people that have done it, and I'm not saying it's a shortcut as such, but you can resonate and you can learn and you can get certain information from that, which if you then adapt, will take your business, what it could take 3 years, it could take you a year or 6 months to do it. So why not do it?
So we give the one thing.
We give it to the agents.
So my challenge is not to actually get them to buy it because I overcame that.
That's probably a good idea. Actually, just give them the book. Yeah.
So this is how it goes. Guys, everybody has 2 weeks to read them. After that, it's a 50 dirham fine. And then on the last, so 2 weeks, everybody read it. After that, it's a 50 dirham per day. Well, isn't 50 dirhams too high? Can we make it 20? That's like, just read the book. And then it's like, okay, who's read it? Well, yeah, can we have a week extension now? So we give the extension. But Ramit Sethi, right, this online marketer guy, he's got this famous book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Not for everybody, but, he's got some online stuff, right? Everybody's got some good stuff going. He's got a famous book rule. If you're in a bookstore, you buy the book. Like, if you think about buying it, you buy it.
Yeah.
You don't have to overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
You don't have
100%.
to overthink it. So I'm reading right now. So it's interesting, yes, because I'm reading right now, which I would recommend to all people, CEOs and stuff, the 48 Laws of Power.
Okay, yes, I've seen that book as well.
Do you know when I bought that book? Because I still have the receipt in the book. I bought it in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Never read it. Didn't make sense. I tried a couple of times. It just didn't make sense to me. It's after I've been through a little bit of,
And
some
sometimes
fun.
you've got to read books a few times for even to absorb the information.
It's like the book, you know how they say the teacher appears when the student's ready?
Yeah, exactly.
The book just spoke to me when I was ready to read it. But because I'd bought it, like it was there, so I picked it up and So anyways, coming back to your company now. So you've got the experienced guys you would bring on and you've got the less experienced guys who you would nurture, right?
Yeah.
Now I've got two more questions with that. People coming into the real estate market. There's two people who aspire to go into real estate as well, luxury side. There's the guy or the girl who's doing some kind of real estate in South Africa or England or UK, USA, and they see like, you guys driving your Ferraris and Lamborghinis and bling, and they're like, I want to do Palm as well. How do you advise them? Fine, you're coming in. Can they go straight into the Palm Jumeirah? Can they broker deals there?
See, the way I see it is I think if you've got an experience already in a different market within that segment of dealing with affluent buyers,
right,
then I think you can come in and start selling the higher ticket. But it does take time in terms of knowledge and product knowledge, right? That's the main element of it.
Right.
But if they already have a background of that, and I'll give you an example. When I was at Knight Frank, there was a girl who's a very good friend of mine now as well. I don't want to name her, but
no worries.
Very good friend of mine. She contacted me on Instagram, really wanted to work for Knight Frank at the time. And Knight Frank were like, and Knight Frank had a very, very strict policy.
Right.
And I was, obviously, it was for my team. So I was like, listen, I want to take a chance on her. The more senior management were like, yes, she doesn't really tick the box in terms of the criteria we need. Because they were very strict. Because she didn't have any Dubai experience at all. But
right.
And she had limited real estate experience, but private banking experience in South Africa.
Okay.
Funnily enough, right?
Okay.
But when you met her and spoke to her, you could tell that this person could easily adapt into this industry.
She's turned on.
Yeah. You see her now. She's one of the top brokers in one of the developments on the Palm.
Wow.
So she started working on the Palm. She worked on the Atlantis project at the time as well, which helped. But on paper, you would have thought, no, it's not going to work. So again, there's no right or wrong answer. There could be someone with a background that already has, already dealing with certain type of clientele that doesn't have the product knowledge, but they come in, they work their asses off. And then after 6 to 9 months, that's when we'll see the results. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who just want to do it because they look at the bling, they look at the money, they look at the houses, and they look at women, not women, sorry, but in general, girls, or guys even, walking around these villas, not even saying a word, right? These TikTok videos. And they think it's as easy as just walking around. And people are just going to call you and say, I want to buy this villa. It's not that easy. You need to have a game plan behind it as well. I think the newer brokers, if they came in and they wanted to do luxury, there's nothing wrong with it, but you start with the smaller stuff.
Right. So the apartments on the Palm?
Apartments on the Palm for 2 to 3 million, 4 million, that kind of stuff, right? Do it for 9 months. Get a feel of the kind of clients that deal, because in Dubai, the clients are from all over the world, right?
Right.
Get an understanding of how these clients are, try and understand them, the buyers, the sellers, the logistics.
Right.
And then prove yourself. Prove you can sell the 2 to 3 to 4 million stuff, right? Then you move on to the 5 to 10. You do it progressively. But if you want to come in and start selling 20, 30, 40 million dirham villas, and then after 6 months you think, the industry is not for me, it's because you've started on the wrong foot. Everyone wants to make the big ticket sales straight away. Who doesn't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe a percentage of them, maybe 5% of them do it.
Yeah.
And then these people will aspire to that 5%. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I think in general, you need to put the graft in. You need to do the work. You got to stay consistent. You got to be disciplined. You got to have the product knowledge.
Yeah.
And you've really got to have a strategy and plan behind it. And then, goal setting and so forth, right? So it can be done, but there's got to be a strategy behind it.
You know what my, the key takeaway, because you said this, if you are dealing with that segment in your country, it'll be easier.
Yes.
And then you narrated the story about this young girl who was dealing with private banking. So she's dealing with that segment.
Yeah.
So I think that if you can match yourselves vibrationally to that area,
yes,
because for a lot of the young people, you can't walk into the 50, 60, 70, 80 million villa and relate to that villa, all the people who are going to buy that. But once you can relate to them, which is what you've given them as a stepping stone. Hey, start at the apartments, and maybe if you're on the apartments in the Palm and you're driving in and out, the villas will grow on you and you'll grow into them.
And those clients might buy the 2 to 3 million, but in
of
a
course,
year's time,
as
they want to buy the
investments,
10 to,
and they trust you.
Yes.
So they'll come back to you and they'll say...
So you have that journey with them as well, right?
Right.
Because I think see what it is, it's very easy in Dubai. You can come off a plane, you can get into real estate.
Yeah.
And because we have so much off-plan projects, especially the huge in the last couple of years, right?
Right.
So you've got these beautiful properties where, the developers made these amazing show villas and show apartments, right? For 50, 40, whatever million dirhams it is, right? So it's very easy for you to make videos all of a sudden, and you have very little experience where you're trying to sell a 20 or 30 million dirham villa because you've got access to it.
Right.
Because with off-plan sales, you have access to everything.
Right.
So it makes it a lot easier.
Right.
But that doesn't... Today.
Yeah.
Right. But
so it's a good thing. They can come in and,
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's that easy.
Yeah.
And in my opinion as well, the off-plan market is great, right? But Dubai has, in the last few years, I think even now, there's more off-plan than secondary sales, right? Which is not a normal market condition. It's not normal market statistics. It's not normal market logistics, right? So that market will turn. You cannot
will
just
turn at
keep
some stage, yes.
off-plan, because those properties need to be built, population needs to grow, and then everything needs to be absorbed. Otherwise, the whole thing doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So all these off-plan for the last 2 and 3 years that have been launching, and in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, they're going to start getting handed over.
Yes.
Right? Secondary, for me, is where that's what real estate is.
Yeah.
When you look at the
UK
fundamentals
the US market,
of real estate, I think agents need to learn secondary first before they put all their focus into off-plan. Off-plan you can learn whilst you're doing secondary.
Yeah.
But if you're just an off-plan agent or an agency, right, and in the next 12 months, the off-plan market slows down because all these new properties have to be absorbed, what are you bringing to the table?
You're going to get branded by fire. You're going to learn because you're going to have
Because do you know how difficult secondary is?
Yeah.
The process from start to finish to meeting clients, giving them your value proposition, why they should use you, pictures, videos, social media, marketing, portals, offers, viewings, the whole thing. It's a full 360. Off-plan isn't like that.
Yes.
So if you only know off-plan, you might be very good at off-plan as well because you've done it for so many years, right?
But you don't know the full deal cycle. You're going to be in trouble, that's what I do with my agents as well. I encourage them to learn everything.
100%.
And I've got agents who've been in the business for 6 months, but they've seen complete transactions from start, mortgage transactions, and they feel like the level of confidence that gives you
100%
is next level.
Yep.
And it's challenging because they're like, what do you mean? Like, we've got an evaluation?
Exactly.
What does that mean? But let's talk about... so you answered both. Like, if you're new, you just get onto the smaller properties. Don't go into the massive villas
100%.
in the beginning.
Ideally
unless you've got the segment.
And ideally have a mentor or have a company that's going to give you a mentor.
Are you charging for your mentorship course?
Yep.
You should be.
So
do you want to tell us how much? Or is that knowledge?
So I do 90-minute sessions for 1,500 dirhams.
Okay. So
and then
that's pretty cheap, man.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
And then I have topics that they can choose, or they can say, actually, I want to discuss this.
That's like $400, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
For 90 minutes.
Yeah. It's actually, if anybody willing to pay that $400 will give them like $100,000 return, but they've got to believe that they can do that.
100%.
So you've got people actually coming and you say, hey, listen, because you get a lot of people, they say like, can I just have coffee with you? Can I talk to you?
And then you're like, yeah, and I used to do that years ago, but I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I'm probably going to end up doing, because I want to do it as a one-day masterclass.
Right. Yes.
I've already got, everything is there, it's set up. I just need to actually start doing it. The reason I haven't done it yet, because I want to get the company office done and everything settled, and then I'll probably do one-day masterclasses. So rather than doing individual things,
Right.
I'll just do a one-day masterclass for agents, maybe 15 at a
Right.
time. And I think especially for newer agents, but even if
Yeah.
you people that are experienced, because you can always learn something, right?
Right.
But do it as a one-day.
I really like your down to earth approach and your and ability for people to actually reach out to you. I want to talk about two stories, right? The one story. Let's talk about another client first.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a client, Yas, who's got money to burn? Like
Many.
if he was on an island and he needed to create heat and he had a bag like $10 million, he could just use that.
Many. I think especially the Palm of
Yeah.
any area in
Yeah.
Dubai, it attracts that type of client.
Yeah.
So you deal with a lot of these type of clients.
So then they're not negotiating. They're like, they're willing to pay like $10 million more. Sweet, easy clients, good clients to deal with. Or-
I wouldn't say they're easy clients.
Yeah.
But when it comes to negotiation, it's easier, I
Right.
would say, because if they really want the property, they'll make sure that the deal. Then
Right.
it's normally the challenge is then with the sellers, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the Palm is synonymous to that. I think a lot of that. So you have two types of wealth that comes in. You got the old money and then you got the new money, right?
Right.
Old money, I would say these guys are a lot more tactical, a lot
Yeah.
more strategic with the way they want to buy,
Right.
because it's generational wealth that they're
Yeah.
building. So it's a very, very different mindset.
Yeah.
Then you got the new money. That's crypto guys and
Right,
these kind of
yeah,
guys that made
yeah.
and young.
Yeah.
The new money is a lot younger, but they're very, very different, right? They're a
Right.
bit more flashy. They want
Yeah.
the properties to look like X, Y, and Z. They're less about thinking 10 years or
Like,
5 years.
if
or
you try to
exit
explain
strategies.
to him resale value,
Yes.
like, yeah, okay, well, yeah.
If they like it, they want it. So it's
Who do
it's
you like
having the-
dealing with more? Old money and new money?
Honestly, both,
Both.
because you learn a lot from both.
Right.
You
Well,
learn-
who do you relate with more?
I would say I'm kind of in the middle.
In the middle at the moment.
I'm neither. I would
Okay.
say, and I think that's why I like dealing with both.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Do you remember that story? Like, this is what I'm going to say, like, down to earth. Do you remember that story of that woman that pulled up into a car at a villa in Palm Jumeirah? She was from Zimbabwe, supposedly from Zimbabwe.
Yes, I remember.
And then they said, like, they've got dictators.
And they wanted to see all the villas on the Palm, and yeah, I remember. Yeah.
We ended up going and meeting her
Meeting her.
representative then,
Yes, yeah.
who then he talked about. So I still remember. I think we were in the souk in the Springs. You were nearby,
Yeah.
and so he's like the representative of the billionaire coming, right? So you and I are both there, and the guy's like, I'm just walking there. From where? You're like, where are you walking from? And then you and I looked at each other. It's like, if this guy is a representative of a billionaire, why is he walking
Exactly.
to the meeting?
Yeah.
But then we had that one meeting. We said, okay, tell us about the deployment and everything. And then we had one more meeting where he tried to sell us art.
Yes. And we were like, what's going? Yeah, exactly. No, but that happens a lot as well.
Still,
You meet a lot of strange people,
scammers sometimes.
scammers, and then a lot
Yeah,
of fake it till they make it type of people as well.
Really?
Yeah. And I think now I've become more. I'd say I'm a little bit more accustomed to understanding clients better now, and so I don't just give everyone 100% of my time. I do a bit. They do research on me. I do research on them as well.
Right.
It's got to add up as well, because there are a lot of people who just love wasting time, right? But
Really?
yeah, even now. And a lot of the time it's because they are not the actual clients that they
Right.
claim to be.
Right.
And they're actually presenting themselves as buyers, but
Right.
it's probably representing someone. Or you have clients. I mean, there's a deal that last year we signed with a supposedly, billionaire client, from the Bollywood background. And
Right.
and we did a bit of digging, and some of his story added up, some of his story didn't add up. And the whole thing was a shambles. It was a local client whose villa we sold. And yeah, it was just 6 months of our time dragging and dragging.
But did you close the deal?
No. And then he just disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah. So he defaulted and he gave us a check, but the check wasn't under his. The whole thing was just such a big drama.
Wow.
And even to this day, like, I meet the seller a lot. He's a friend of mine now as well, this local client of mine. And we still don't understand what what did he achieve and gain from wasting everyone's time? And that's 6 months where the villa was taken off the market. So you can understand the frustration from the seller as well, right?
And he couldn't encash the penalty check or anything like that.
We decided not to because we then found out who the person was, and it wasn't fair for someone else to take the blame for it, right?
Right.
And that guy didn't have, it was a big transaction.
Right.
It was huge. The 10% was a huge amount. The guy didn't have the 10%.
Okay.
So I think there was a lot of stuff. So even we thought we did the due diligence, but even then the whole thing just fell apart.
So you don't know what the game was. You will find out. Like at some stage.
We still haven't figured out what he was gaining from wasting our time and doing 4 viewings on it, bringing his family, his wife and everyone.
Wow.
And so the contract was signed, the check was given. It was a 3 months MOU. Then it was extended by a month. Then it was another 2. And then he gave us even receipts that he transferred the money from Switzerland, which we now question if that was even... This makes you think that how the level he went to keep himself, in our eyes, like a credible individual.
Right. May God protect you, man, because you're dealing in billions of dollars of real estate.
And it was frustrating because as a seller, he did his research on him. I did mine. Couldn't we had passport copies and everything, right? And and we still to this day don't understand
what the game was. There was a game.
There must have been something.
Right. Okay.
It was just to keep his wife happy. I don't know what it was, right? But it was strange. It was strange.
I wonder what it was.
And that does happen a lot. So now, and that's why when agents contact me, sometimes agents think I'm rude. I'm not being rude because they haven't qualified their client properly, right?
Yeah.
I'm not wasting my time with showing you villas. To get access to properties on the palm is difficult.
Right.
To get access to properties of a client that I have no control or hasn't been qualified, I'm not doing it anymore.
Right.
Because I've done it for years and I've stopped doing it, right?
Right.
So what if I can tell from the agent that the client isn't qualified?
Right.
The only way I will work with them is we do a conference call.
Right. Okay.
Because I get it. They don't want to give me the client, right?
So you've set that up now as a qualifier.
A conference call. If they refuse the conference call with the buyer, I don't work with the agent.
Yeah. I think it's fair game because you're protecting your time, which is equaling money at the moment.
And more importantly, I'm putting my name on the line. When I say to a seller, I'm bringing a person to your 100 million dirham villa.
Correct.
That I've qualified because I'm vouching for this guy, right?
Correct.
And they turn up on the day. And it's clear the client cannot afford it.
Oh my God.
Or the client has clearly, lied about what he has, what he does. Or the agent hasn't done his homework.
Yeah.
And the client is actually just there, just wanting to view, a tourist or whatever you want to call them sometimes. And you get a lot of them.
Yes.
They come to Dubai, they just want to see some villas on the palm. And these guys, it's a fully qualified client. And they're not fully qualified. So, and that kind of stuff is detrimental to me, right? Because
because it's
the
seller's reputation, your reputation, but more than that, yes, it's your time, man.
Yes.
But have you had situations where somebody walked out, like, let's say they walked out of a regular car and you're like, this guy might not buy this villa, but then they ended up buying it?
Yes.
Have you had that?
Yes. My first ever villa I sold, which was in 2010, the guy, and now probably these days I wouldn't have the patience.
Right.
He was 45 minutes late for the viewing.
Okay.
Remember, it was a villa on Front A.
Right.
I remember. And I was like, is this guy really a genuine client? Because I was new. I only started the palm after Emirates.
So you got to give him the time.
So
of the
I
day.
was like, I really need this, right? And it was, it's not like you had hundreds of buyers queued up to buy palm villas.
2009.
Right? So I waited 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I probably wouldn't wait 45 minutes for a client. I would actually say...
Do you have a waiting time rule?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah.
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's a client I've met before and the genuine...
Second meeting's different.
But the first meeting, 20
First meeting, 20 minutes. You reschedule even if you've got nothing to do.
Exactly.
You reschedule.
Because you've got to show them your time is...
It is important. You don't even need to show it.
They cannot think that their day has to supersede yours, right?
I don't even... Yes, at your stage... You're not even trying to show. It is more important.
No, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So with this guy, he turned up 45 minutes late. He came in a car. I was like, my God. I mean, the only good thing was the villa was empty, right? So I was like, thank God. Because owners can see the cars their clients are coming in, right?
Yeah.
So even he was like, seriously, this guy's going to buy this villa? Anyway, showed him the villa. He was very difficult to read. Didn't really say much at the viewing as well. He was like, yeah, it's okay, kind of thing, right? Didn't really give any signs or whatever, right? And then he was like, I need my son to view the villa, right? Because I'm buying it for my son.
Right.
I was like, okay, fine. And then for whatever reason, his son couldn't make a viewing. We arranged it. His son couldn't make it, whatever. Anyway, he's like, listen, I want to buy the villa. in those days, I mean, I'll give you the numbers. I mean, it was a signature villa
Oh, back then, signature.
for 11 million dirhams.
Okay. This is when the market is just
It was,
recovering.
no, it was at the lowest.
Okay.
No one was buying
It
villas.
had come bottom down.
No one was buying
Regular villas were about 7 million. They transacted at
Yeah,
7.
garden
6
homes
to
were about
7,
6 and
6
a
to
half.
7. Signatures 11 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Back
this
in
was,
the day.
This was even at the lower then as well. And
This
then
villa is right now about 30 million to 40 million.
this one
A
now
signature.
is, about 35.
35 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 35.
So
So
11's top dollar at
Yeah.
that time.
And the owner still owns the villa to this day.
Okay.
Right? But he actually went ahead and he bought the villa and actually he was, and that's happened a lot where
Cash.
finance buyer.
Okay,
Yeah,
finance.
finance
okay,
buyer.
Still.
And that still happens a lot where sometimes it's difficult. And sometimes you have to sometimes give a client some chance as well because
Yeah.
they might not turn up, they might not dress the way you expect them to dress or talk or have the cars.
Right.
Actually, they have money.
Yeah.
And you understand that with experience that some clients, they don't like to show their wealth off.
Yeah.
Then you have the others who are quite noticeable in their
Yeah,
wealth, right?
yeah.
So you of course give them a chance, but then as time goes on, you need to then try and understand, is this client really saying, does he have the money? Does he not? And then that's when your experience has to come into play as well.
Right.
Because, you putting offers on properties where client doesn't have the money, that's your reputation on the line as well, right?
Absolutely.
And, here people are a little bit nervous giving bank, proof of funds.
Correct.
In the UK, you got to give, it's a natural
Standard
thing.
process.
We give an offer, give you your passport copy, give me X, Y, and Z, and that's how you do it. Here, generally, people are a little bit nervous about giving proof of funds and so forth. So it's a bit more challenging.
For every written offer that you put into a seller,
Yeah.
do you always ask for proof of funds from the buyer?
It depends what type of property it is. If it's a big ticket, we ask for proof of funds. And I have a proper offer letter as well. It's not just
Right.
this is
Yeah.
an offer.
Yeah.
It's done in a proper way.
Yeah.
Some
You've done the work.
Yeah, and it's a template that I've been using for
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Some sellers are old school. They want a copy of a deposit check, which technically means nothing when you
Right.
look at it in a legal point
Yeah.
of view. But some of them just want it.
Yes.
It's kind of a peace of mind. So if they want that, they're
Yeah.
insistent on a 10%, then we would attach that onto the offer letter as well. So with some, especially the higher ticket villas on the Palm, the sellers also want proof of funds.
Okay.
Because they want to know that you're giving us an offer. And this happens a lot. Clients give offers, sellers accept, and then nothing happens. Clients disappear. And again, it's just clients that are just wasting people's
It is what
time.
it is. Last question, yes. So I want to ask you two questions, actually, partly. One, your dream property or country or city where you'd like to sell a property, and your dream of where you'd like to own a property for yourself.
I think it's probably something I've touched on before. I think it would be south of Spain is where I would, and I want to sell. This is why I'm even considering and partnering with developers and brokerages out there. So I think south of Spain, 100%, especially the Marbella region. If it wasn't that, it probably would be LA or Miami. Just because, I mean, it's interesting. I've never been there.
Okay.
But, the $1 Million Listing Show kind of really sells their properties really, really well. And I do think, in the US, because it's such a mature market there and, properties have been there for hundreds of years and it's very different to Dubai where everything is new and shiny, right?
Yes.
You have a lot of history with the properties there. They're on mountains and so forth. So I think Miami and LA would really resonate with me. But realistically, it's going to be South Australia.
Miami's new, by the way.
No, I know. But so Miami's like Dubai, actually.
Yes, Miami's like Dubai.
That's where the link. Whereas LA, it's got a whole history, right? But they have very nice properties, and it's properties that I would enjoy selling as well.
Right. Okay.
And it's cities I could see myself living in. So
Mashallah.
as nice as New York is, like New York properties are very, very interesting. I couldn't see myself living in New York, for example, right?
Very good. Alhamdulillah. Look, we're going to wrap this up. But before we wrap it up, look, obviously with this gentleman who's been a decade and a half in the Dubai real estate luxury side of the market, like you could talk like for hours and hours. And maybe we do a part two, but any investors who are looking to get in touch, we'd put your company's details at the bottom. Anybody who wants to apply and start in the luxury real estate sector, please, you can always get in touch. Because he's not just a company that will focus on luxury, but you'd get access to a great mentor. His fees are very low at $400 at the moment. So imagine you could do that and get that access to him for absolutely, if you work for him. So it's much, much easier for you. But I want to thank you because you've shared a lot. Because a lot of people want to come in the market, they want to get into luxury, and you're going to be like, a lot of people are going to want to know this. And obviously, we're going to be co-authoring a book on luxury real estate in Dubai.
That's something that's
we
our
got
next
his commitment
meeting, in fact.
now, alhamdulillah.
Yes.
What we want to do for all the generous time you've given us. We want to present a very small token. A token of appreciation. I don't know if it's small or big.
And you know, one thing I'll mention, Fahd always sends me, I think in Ramadan or Eid, a gift, which is, he's the only person who actually does that. So that's a really nice touch as well.
It was
I always say to myself, I need to do what he does. And I just never get around to it.
Alhamdulillah. Actually, last year was mangoes.
Mangoes. This year was mangoes again? Or was it? I can't remember.
Some sweets, Arabic sweets.
sweets.
But alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure actually having you and to agreeing to do this.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people want you on their podcast, but you coming across and doing it with me and giving your time, I'm very, very
No, it was a
grateful.
pleasure as well. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We wrap.